Hi, this is Paula Clark with Keller Williams Valley Realty, and I am here with Michael Korik, real estate attorney with Charles Gruen, which is located in Westwood, New Jersey of Bergen County. And I want to talk to you today about attorney review. What does it mean when you're purchasing a home in Bergen County or anywhere in New Jersey? What does attorney review mean? And when a buyer makes an offer on a home, what does that really mean? And what is the process? So, Michael?
Sure. Thank you, Paula. So New Jersey is a little bit different than most other states. It's kind of scary, especially for a first-time home buyer, in that when you make an offer, you're actually making that offer on the contract. And when you as a buyer sign that, you submit an offer that then gets submitted to the seller and the seller signs it. You now have a binding contract. Once that contract is signed, it gets sent to the respective parties' attorneys, and that starts a 3-day window called attorney review. And during that period, you can back out of the contract or the seller can back out of the contract. The contract can be canceled for any reason or no reason. The first thing that you're going to have your attorney do for you is to send a letter of disapproval. Now, it could be sent by the buyer's attorney or the seller's attorney, but most commonly it's sent by the buyer's attorney. And essentially, it's a letter that says, and I'm paraphrasing here, we cancel this contract based on the terms as written. However, with the following additional terms, we agree to proceed with the transaction. And included along with the letter is generally a brief rider which amends certain terms in the contract, and it's pretty transaction specific based on additional inspections that you might want, terms for the mortgage, changing the closing date, adding or revising various contingencies, etc. And
don't they add things like make sure it's not in a flood zone, there's no oil tanks, even though that is on the contract? Do they reiterate that, or
so
are there additional things?
Yes, those are some of the items we add. And like you said, it's reiterated and expanded in detail a little bit more. We talk about septic tanks. We want representations made that there aren't any septic tanks, or if there are, then we want to have the septic tanks inspected. We discuss wells. If there is a well, then we typically want the seller to do the well test results. But there's no rule that says it's the seller's obligation. It could be the buyer that does it. But when I represent the buyer, obviously, I want the seller's attorney to undertake the well test. We negotiate those terms. And once everybody is in agreement, then we distribute the final rider. And it could be signed on behalf of the buyer, by the buyer's attorney, or by the buyers themselves. Once that document is executed, that's when attorney review concludes and we start the real fun. That's when you're under contract.
When you're under contract, which we'll talk about in a minute. What I really want to emphasize on this call is especially buyers that are making an offer on a home. It can be very, very stressful because you're buying a home of a great number that it's the biggest financial decision of your life, and you don't know if you're making the right choice, and so you trust your attorney to be able to decipher what's in that contract. But I want them to understand, anybody writing up a contract in New Jersey, you do have that 3-day period, and sometimes it can be longer. Or if there is a bidding war and you want it out of contract into contract immediately, because you don't want to run the risk of another buyer coming in and bidding the price up and getting you out, you can do that as well, correct? You can have a shorter period of time.
That's a good point. Attorney review by statute is typically only 3 days. However, we can extend it and make it as long as necessary, or if all the parties are willing, we can get you out of attorney review as quickly as a matter of hours. It all depends on who's willing to work with whom and how quickly they're willing to.
There's no law that says it has to be 3 days. Is that correct?
That's correct. You can make it longer or shorter, and that's done by just the sheer process of the negotiation back and forth and both parties declaring that attorney review has been concluded.
Great. So this is in all of New Jersey. Any questions anyone has? The next step is when you go under contract, and what do you expect at that point, and what do you have to do after that? So that's in our next call with you, Michael, and thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Anybody who wants to get in touch with Michael, he's right in Westwood, New Jersey, Michael Korik. I do use him for most of my transactions because he is a great communicator, and he does look out for the client, which is my most and most important thing in what we do. So thank you. All right, bye-bye.